Thanks for joining, and good afternoon to those in the US, and good evening to those in Europe. Unfortunately, I didn't get myself a drink, just a soft drink, some water. So my name is Piotr Brzalik. I'm representing Unity Group. I'm very grateful for being given this opportunity to lead this last session for today. And I have some exceptional guests this afternoon. So please welcome Tori Branker, Director of Product Marketing at Adobe Magento, Bernard Gołko, former e-commerce director at Omnibus and Soder Holding, Michał Przybysz, e-commerce director at Gemini Pharmacy, and Bartosz Pilch, e-commerce director at SIG Poland. Guys, my proposal is let's give ourselves a minute for a brief around the table introduction round. Please say a few words about yourselves, your current roles, past experience, or maybe, in order for the audience to know you better, what you guys like to do after work. So who wants to start? Tori?
Sure, I can go first. Hi, everybody. Tori Brunker, Director of Product Marketing at Adobe for our commerce business. I've spent my career across some startups, as well as two pretty large Fortune 500 companies. I ran the B2B e-commerce business for Office Depot and did quite a bit of work across marketing and e-commerce at Dell for about 15 years. Super excited to be here and share some great insights with you guys and answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Tori. Bartek?
Hello, my name is Bartek Pilch. I'm working for SIG. This is a British-owned construction materials distributor. I'm responsible for e-commerce and marketing. I started in SIG almost 7 years ago to build up from ground zero the e-commerce strategy and sales channel and the platform itself. Before I was working for two e-commerce, pure e-commerces. It was one was DIY e-commerce called Nexterio, and previous was Zoo Plus. It was pet shop online. And before I was working for some international players where I was for several years responsible for marketing, there were mostly retailers like Ahold, a Dutch company, Carrefour, then also some fashion company in Poland.
Thank you. Michał?
Hi, I'm Michał Przybysz, and I had a chance to manage and implement e-commerce or multi-channel for 4 big retailers, for Leroy Merlin, which is like Home Depot in US, for MediaMarkt, which is like Best Buy, IKEA, and now it's a leading Polish online pharmacy.
Thank you. And you windsurf.
Yes, and I do windsurf. And tomorrow there's going to be a wind, so I'm taking a day off for windsurfing.
Oh, lucky you. Bernard.
Guys, thank you for having me here. Basically, I spent about 15 years time with corporate world. I was working for the banks like HSBC, Citibank, Crédit Agricole. I was helping a couple of other banks in terms of development of the online channels when on most occasions, since I'm a numbers freak and KPIs-driven personality, I helped to build the sales basically and to reach out for the customers. Last 5 years, I'm working with investment funds, helping to build organizations, managing as CMO some organization in Finland. Just finished this project actually, helping business to grow from the perspective of digital transformation. And fortunately or not, even though it was not my plan, last 4 years I was focused a lot on hard IT.
Thanks, thank you a lot. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
So I'm really humbled with what a splendid list guests I managed to gather here today. So just to add something from myself on a professional ground, I'm co-managing Unity Group. We are a software development and consulting firm in the business since 1997. We have been building e-commerce platforms for leading retailers and wholesalers all around Europe. Overall, we are around 300 people with offices in Poland, Switzerland, and New York. And when I'm not at work, I'm a father of two and an amateur mountain biker and badminton player. And I do surf a little bit, not windsurf, surf. Okay, guys, I'm glad that we now know each other a little bit better. Moving to the list of topics that we prepared for today, and we try to cover. So we will talk about post-COVID retail and e-commerce trends in the US and Europe. We also will discuss what is commerce transformation all about and what challenges it brings to organizations. And as the last part, we will try to find out if there's something that we can learn from each other on both sides of the big pond. Moving swiftly to the first part, Tori, you're responsible for product marketing at Adobe Magento. I'm sure you have access to great data, and thanks for preparing the insights that you are going to show to us in a moment. So we will start with Tori showing us some very interesting insights from the US market, and then we will follow up with a discussion. Tori, so the stage is yours. Do you want me to switch slides, or you can do it on your own?
I'll let you do it. That'll be just fine, please, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Awesome. So I just want to walk you guys through some really great data that we have from a multitude of sources. This first piece is from the Adobe Digital Index, and this is data that we compile globally. And I'll just give you some key highlights from the August study. So, globally, consumers really have shifted a significant portion of their online shopping. And, in the US alone, 107 billion has been spent online between March and August. And that's incremental above previous forecasts. Another startling statistic, in 2019, there were only $2 billion days outside of the holiday season online. As of August, we've actually already had 130 days that have passed that milestone. And in fact, every single day from May until the end of June was over 2 billion. That was startling for me to hear that fact.
Like basically a Black Friday every day.
Every day, exactly, from May till the end of June. That is incredible to see from an online perspective. And the benefactors of this are really across the board. We see it in online digital native brands like Amazon, Wayfair, e-commerce platform vendors, obviously Adobe, Magento, Salesforce, Shopify, as well as online payment players like PayPal and Square, and shipping providers, FedEx, Stamps.com, just to name a few. So diving into the impact from a retail perspective, we know, retail has certainly seen the largest impact in the events of 2020. And US retailers year over year are seeing 68% revenue growth. And that is as of August. This actually matches an earlier peak we saw in April of that same amount. And there's been 129% year-over-year growth in US and Canada e-commerce orders, with an impressive 146% growth across all online retail orders. Conversion rates continue to increase. We saw 8.8% in the recent study. And of course, e-commerce penetration is also up 27%. Now, we can't leave out B2B. Industries that previously relied on brick and mortar or traditional sales channels are actually aggressively going digital as a result of the pandemic. Prime examples include manufacturing, healthcare, finance, and automotive industries. We actually got some data from IDC, and they believe that B2B buying will continue to outpace B2C. They also believe that with the recent focus in customer experience, the B2B buyers are expecting great purchasing experiences regardless of channel. And in fact, a survey from IDC showed that 96% of businesses have changed their sales model to favor online and e-commerce selling. And 65% of them say that that new sales model is just as effective or more effective than what they were doing pre-COVID. And then about 80% are very likely or somewhat likely to sustain that shift. That has a very drastic impact in how we think about buying online, even from a B2B perspective. And respondents also reported a 40% increase in the importance of digital versus traditional. So just diving into the different sales channels used in the US by buyers before versus during the pandemic.
And this is B2B strictly, right?
Yes, this is also B2B. Overnight, channel mix really changed for B2B buyers. You'll see purchasing from suppliers' digital portals is up from 58 to 67%. And you'll see drastic decreases in purchasing direct from sales reps and in-store warehouses. But continuing to hold steady are telephone and marketplace purchasing, which is great. So COVID really has some lasting impacts. And I just want to cover 4 really key places where we think that this impact is going to remain. So certainly the in-store experience. Brick and mortar retail has really started migrating towards selling experiences and services in the store. We actually think this will shift back to a higher product focus to really facilitate swift purchasing and buying propensities, as well as contactless shopping. Buy online, pick up in store is here to stay. According to a research study by Core Site Research, 55% of US consumers believe that they will retain a changed way of living post-pandemic. And in fact, according to our August Adobe Digital Economy Index, buy online, pick up in store surged in August with 59% growth over July, or 259% year-over-year increase. There's also a fight for customer loyalty. This is a key area where really experiences are going to continue to matter, and those have to be brought to other places besides the physical store. Social media is the place where we're seeing this happen. This includes things like expert Q&A sessions, as well as online fashion shows. Channel fragmentation, in that move of experiential commerce and social media, we really think that channel fragmentation is going to continue. And we actually think super apps like WeChat in China are going to permeate globally and actually drive a huge increase in use of augmented reality so that folks can actually virtually try on clothing, jewelry, makeup, put furniture in their room, etc. In fact, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say 61% of social media users actually are using social media paired with augmented reality as a part of their shopping process.
Okay, so at this stage, because this is absolutely very insightful, I wanted to ask my other guests, do you guys feel that it resonates with your businesses, those key trends that Tori has just pinpointed? Anyone?
I would say partly yes. Maybe not 100% because still Polish market is a little bit different, and still we have some way to go. But looking at even this slide we see now, it's that's true that this loyalty becomes more and more important. It's more important because there are less ways to acquire new clients, new customers, especially in such businesses like B2B construction, where the company where SIG operates. Yes, also for us, it's crucial to build loyalty not only through this regular customer service, but for doing extra things that no one else does in our industry. So we, for example, focus on developing our e-commerce platform with non-sales functionalities, but the ones that help our customers in day-to-day life, in their businesses on daily basis, to control, to have all financials in one place, to have some things that they cannot have anywhere else, and this builds huge loyalty, and we see it in numbers.
Guys, if I may, what I observe, for example, in fintechs or in financial sector at all, we've been observing like the closing of the offline parts of the businesses for a long time already in Poland, and we are quite digitized. However, what is being observed right now, even bigger importance, especially when not when it comes to the customer service. We've been already there when it comes to the digitalization, still growing part of the business, but when it comes to the customer acquisition is something totally different in comparison to what we have a couple of months ago. What is interesting, from my perspective, is the basically refocus of the chief financial officers on the digital developments. Until now, in many companies or in many industries, we've been observing digital acquisition as something that is a little bit done aside. This investment was more perceived as a research and development or something from time to time even as a toy, and putting the company in the place where it can call itself innovative company. Nowadays is totally drastically changed. If you take under consideration even companies like the biggest manufacturers in Poland or producers of the furniture, you will find that within last couple of 1 or 2 years, they changed from 10% of online sales to 20-25 even during the coronavirus epidemic. I'm just wondering what will be the true impact after the COVID is gone, and hopefully it will be soon gone. So basically, nowadays we observe surge in the investments of the companies in the digital channels. However, the cost of the customer acquisition is growing rapidly as well. So I'm wondering, in this small internet, and I'm not talking only about Poland, how will we manage to better understand the channel's attribution in this fragmented model, and how we will manage in future ROI, from ROI perspective, the spendings on generation of the new customers.
Yeah, definitely. That channel attribution of the cost of marketing is the holy grail of e-commerce marketeers.
Not only e-commerce.
Not just that. Yes,
Yeah.
I've asked Tori to Michał, would you like to comment too?
Yeah, well, I just would like to add, a few words from a bit different perspective, because of course it's growing, and those numbers that we were seeing or we saw are very correct. But on the other hand, it's not a toy anymore, as Bernard said. But the pressure on e-commerce teams is now very, very big, because there are very high expectations, also from chief financial officers that Bernard mentioned, and it's a big pressure not only to deliver, but to over-deliver right now, and to even cover for brick and mortar sales, which is which decreased. Yeah. So this has a huge impact on the teams, and even maybe bigger than we would expect, and also the logistics even more, because the volumes are way over the forecasts, and also the forecasts are not very stable, because there are a lot of peaks right now, and very unpredictable and very, very hard to predict. And taking into consideration the pandemic situation, when it's very hard to acquire workers to work in the warehouses and logistics, and for those companies which not investing in automation and scalable solutions, now it's very hard to fulfill the need. And also from my perspective, I'm managing now the big e-pharmacy in Poland, and there's another perspective also, that we feel a mission right now. In a way, it's not just a retail; it's feeling being a part of the healthcare system more than ever, because we are also fulfilling the basic needs right now connected with health. So this is for me personally, managing before retailers. It's also, you know, a bit symbolic that there's much another value in working for this company and for pharmacy.
Yeah. That's absolutely amazing. Yeah, I have asked Tori to share 2 examples of really interesting pivots made during the pandemic. Can you go ahead, Tori?
Absolutely, and this definitely dovetails into what everyone was just talking about. We have one customer, Zoomies, and they actually are a teen apparel brand. They pride themselves on being perpetually teens themselves. Most of their locations actually reside inside of traditional malls. And so when the lockdown occurred, all of their stores were suddenly closed without any control on their part to keep them open or not. They did, however, transition all 700 of their stores into delivery nodes. So they went from 15% of their business online to 100% of their business online virtually overnight. They leveraged all of their in-store associates to do pick, pack, and ship. So this was actually not only a terrific way for them to avoid layoffs, but it also helped them keep up with their demand. They now have actually seen a broader reach of their brand across the US, and they're even considering driving out into new global markets as a result. They actually believe that they will maintain a higher online revenue in the future, even once their physical locations start opening back up. And then one other, go ahead. Did somebody have a comment on that one?
No, absolutely brilliant move, I would say. But again, I'm wondering how this will, what's going to happen with such an approach in 6 or 10 months, because as we all remember, a year ago, one of the key digital trends was actually about online shops opening offline presences. So I'm just wondering how this increased cost of acquisition within digital channels, how they impact the margin from the offline channels, because at the end of the day, yes, the customer is in the center, but it needs to be supported with the financials. Yeah, so
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I do think that's a really interesting point. And, you know, actually, Piotr, if we'll move to the next example, this one is different because it's B2B, but I think it also hits on what you were just talking about, Bernard, in terms of sort of what lasting activities can they continue to consume from a cost model perspective. So Watsco is also a Magento Commerce customer, and they are very large. They're $1 billion B2B company in the HVAC space, so air conditionings. They serve tradesmen, and they actually have branches and delivery services, but they rely very heavily on their salespeople in the branch. They also rely very heavily on sort of real-time order and pickup. They were really concerned about moving to a more digital or phone-based model because they were really concerned that that was going to actually drive up, wrong parts, different incorrect parts orders. They were doing a lot of face-to-face sales. But as they've transitioned, they really found that a full phone and digital sales model actually is working great for them. They also enabled geofencing. So when their tradesmen arrive at their branches for pickup, it actually alerts the salesperson inside of that location who can go pick and pull off of the shelf and pull right out to that person and hand them what they ordered, confirm it was the accurate thing that they needed, and then get them on their way. They're actually going to permanently institute that. Not only is it saving them money, so they've actually already started to see positive ROI on that geofencing investment, but they also are finding that their salespeople have more time to deliver a consultative sale, and they're seeing higher average order values as a result of these new methods. So great example of sort of taking that technology and turning it into a key positive for the business.
I'm already seeing Bartek taking notes.
Yes. That's true.
Definitely a fantastic inspiration for his business.
Exactly, yes.
Thanks,
You
Tori.
know,
Thank you, Tori. That was very insightful. Any comment, Bartek?
Actually, I was taking notes because I had some inspiration for myself. So thank you very much for this example, because this is the company I didn't know, to be honest. Although we are looking through distribution markets in different geographies. This air conditioning equipment is part of our assortment as well. So it's very. I hope it would be very fruitful. So.
Okay, Tori, thanks again for providing us with insights on the U.S. market. I have prepared something to complement with in regards to the Polish and European market. So overall, the Polish online retail is expected to grow this year something between 40 to 100%. There are really different estimations, and those smaller ones, they usually based on a trend from previous years, which I believe is irrelevant at that moment. Our own estimate is closer to 100%, as we expect to see a return of some of restrictions, reducing mobility within the society in the upcoming weeks, with the new cases spiking in Poland and social and healthcare systems barely dealing with new sick people. So while this was happening over summer, we observed a decline in frequency of physical store visits. This was compensated, however, with growing conversion rates. So the revenue drop was not that drastic. But at the same time, we did see the number of people doing online shopping only rose from last year, from 4% up to 14% this year. So more and more people have decided just to stick to online shopping. Still, Polish buyers still prefer home deliveries. However, out-of-home options are growing. They were growing even prior to pandemic, with labor cost increase and environmental challenges. So we saw parcel lockers and PUDO points networks growing very fast. And this gives convenience stores a chance to build a symbiotic relationship with the e-commerce industry. Still, the biggest network operated in Poland is from the National Post Company, but they are being challenged by private companies. The fastest growing is InPost, having almost 5,000 automated parcel machines all around the country, and 1,500 PUDO points. So for a population of Poland, 38 million, InPost has reported to having 4 million regular users of their parcel lockers, with over 500,000 parcels delivered each day. So this is a really huge shift, and it's happening not just in Poland, but all around Europe. If anyone has a comment to this at any time, just feel free to interrupt me.
I would say regarding parcel lockers of InPost that they are becoming more and more popular because they have nice alliances on e-commerce market. This is one reason for popularity, because the biggest marketplace in Poland is in close cooperation. But on the other hand, they launched a very user-friendly app for those lockers at the very beginning of pandemic. So it was touchless also, opening the lockers.
Yes,
so I think it was also this real-time action that helped them a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for this comment. But at the same time, we are seeing that the cash usage in store in Europe was reduced by something like 10 percentage points. We see the rise of contactless payments. MasterCard currently reports that almost 80% of MasterCard transactions all across Europe are now contactless. One of the trends I'd like to pinpoint is the grocery and FMCG buying online in Poland is picking up speed. We were lagging behind with just 1% of online retail. Compared to US and UK, we were really far behind. I think there's around 6% in the UK and in the US. But this is expected to grow in the next year to around 5%. And there's a very interesting new trend visible in the last months. So we are seeing local community-driven food marketplaces being built around Facebook groups, very simple e-commerce websites to connect local buyers with small agricultural cooperatives and food manufacturing firms willing to deliver food to door. This is a very typical buyer-driven disruption. And last trend I would like to shed some light on is the demographics of online shoppers. So we are seeing a growing importance of people over 65. They will comprise 24% of the whole population of Europe by 2030. So according to a study from Mintel, this age group was reluctant to buy online prior to COVID. It was just around 15% around Europe, and it's in Poland the same. But once the pandemic started, the over 65s were almost as likely to buy online like all of the other age groups. So the important question is it going to stay like this? Because there are studies and other studies that show that just 10% of these baby boomers will continue buying groceries online, for example, after the pandemic is over. So, kicking off with the discussion again, let me ask you a question. Do you think that there is a likelihood that the majority of older consumers will return to their old purchasing habits once the crisis is over? Or what will it take to retain them as online shoppers? Who'd like to take that one?
I think that convenience and trust would matter a lot, because if they get used to online shopping, they will. I think they will stay. But they need to have positive experience regarding ease of use of the platforms they start their e-commerce let's say with, and on the other hand they need to have really good service, and they need to feel safe and secure regarding payments, for example, because this is the group that according to the researchers I saw, they are not as that they have less trust to others than younger age groups.
I would, if I may say, I would say that kind of obvious thing is that a big part of customer experience is the price. So the question is basically whether the shops will manage to get the customers for the right price to their digital shops and offer good price for them, still making a good margin. I would say that yes, I believe that maybe not majority, but still big proportion of baby boomers will remain buying online. However, again, I'm a little bit skeptic when it comes to the possibility in future to buy the right customers for the right price. So the cost of customer acquisition will remain on the right level to provide the money for the shop.
I would
in Poland we've got this. If I may, in Poland we have this situation where most of the, or actually all of them, those FMCG networks for more wealthy people, they collapsed. People are still focused in Poland on the price when it comes to the groceries. So I would say that the price will win, at least to some degree. Yeah.
Yes, but on the other hand, this group, when we go still for this baby boomers, I think this is the group that becomes more loyal than other groups. If we provide them with our shop with good or perfect experience, they will not look for another one. Especially that they use. Again, I will go to some researches I saw on this group, that they are using e-commerce a lot on using smartphones, because this is the group that acquires smartphones lately. It's not the group that started with smartphones. The smartphones are quite new for them, but they have now the big screens. But what is important, to provide mobile versions of the stores for example, with possibility of switching into big letters, because they have, due to the age, they have some problems with eyes, for example.
Yeah.
So if the store provides this experience that they can just read in comfortable way, it builds loyalty to the store. So the acquisition cost, when we look at the customer lifetime value, wouldn't be as high as if we look only at the first transaction.
Well, I'm assuming that Miha would like to comment, because your business is very important for serving elderly people, right? What's your view on that?
But before I jump into my business, right, to the pharmacy, I just I don't think it's a discussion between how many of them will stay in e-commerce, because I would just believe they will become multi-channel and they will be switching between the channels, and they obviously will buy more online, but they also will come back to the offline. So this just become baby boomers will become just multi-channel, buying more and more online and using all of the channels, not even two, but there's more channels than two, or touch points, not channel touch points.
Which would be great news, because we know that multi-channel customers normally buy more than single-channel customers.
That's true.
Yeah, exactly. That was my point. Yeah, very good summary. And then to answer your question about the pharmacy business, well, here is a little bit different situation, at least in Poland, due to some law regulations, because you cannot buy prescription drugs online. You can only buy in the offline. So therefore, even the multi-channel or e-commerce customers, they need to go to the pharmacy, more or less, just to buy the prescription drugs. So therefore, you have to be in a way multi-channel if you want to buy all of the things that you need. But surely there's more baby boomers and elderly people using the brick and mortar pharmacy, and more younger people using the online pharmacy. So it's even more evident than in other retailers.
Thank you. Any more comments to the trends part? If not, so we are let's move swiftly ahead. So my conclusion from the first part was that from business impact perspective, it's strong and very simple at the same time. So I would say adapt or perish. And either to say that it's pretty obvious that there will be more pandemics in the future, and the growing and dense world population, environmental impact, increasing mobility. In my opinion, it makes it inevitable. So which means that there is no coming back for retail and wholesale industries to what has been before COVID. We must continue growing and excelling our online channels. But at the same time, while I was being involved in many commerce transformation initiatives on the software vendor side, I've seen many of our clients struggle with adding the digital channels to their business models, to their strategies. We know it's not easy, and there are plenty of challenges on different level of organizations. So this is why I put this picture here. So we have to innovate on the business model side, on the operations side, and the technology is just an enabler. So let's try to use our guest experience to shed some light on that. My first question would be to Michał. You have been on the forefront of commerce transformation for the last 15 years for multiple large brands, Leroy Merlin, IKEA, MediaMarkt, now Gemini. What is the most challenging aspect of your day-to-day work in that regard?
Yeah, well, the more I think about it and the more I look back at my experiences, and also when I talk to my colleagues from other companies, my main observation and main challenge is that even though I am or my colleagues are called digital managers or e-commerce manager or multi-channel managers or transformation manager whatsoever, to be honest, I feel much more often that I am or we are change managers. And every time I take on a new job in the new company, I'm really, in a way, surprised how underestimated that is within the company, how this big changes. And even though, as you said, Piotr, is inevitable, and now pretty much less and less people question the need for the change, still it's underestimated how big it is for the organization. And even though we would like to work on the customer experience journeys or some user interfaces and design the websites and all the beautiful products we can sell and how to sell them, pretty much all implementations I started they needed to start with very down-to-earth things like accounting transformation or legal counsel matters, even more legal counsel matters than you can imagine, and a lot of internal processes. So far away from technology, quite often, far away from digitalization, start from basics. And this is surprising that even though it's not new and many organizations went through it, still those who need to go through it and they are starting, they pretty much start from the same level as those 10 or 15 years ago, even though there's a lot of cases to learn on. So this is my main learning and main challenge. And when we try to work using more agile methods, which became a standard for many people in organizations, that it's even harder to implement this change because it's so different than standard ways of working in those companies. And also sooner or later, usually sooner than later, it influences the structure of the company, because you just are not able to implement or run digitalization or multi-channel businesses within silos or hierarchical structures. So big change management. And having said that, it's much easier right now due to the COVID and pandemic, all those changes we talked about, because now just the need is so big that it's easier. Still, the change is huge. So that's my main learning and main challenge. And still, I see that within the organizations.
Thank you. That's really insightful. Anyone?
If I may say, guys, I used to be responsible in a couple of organizations for the digital transformation programs, and I would say that the biggest and the beginning was always about the culture and about getting people on board. Without this and without possibility to learn from the intelligent failures, so giving again possibility for people to make the challenges, to challenge the status quo, to make the mistakes, but with a huge support of the manager that shows the path towards gathering the knowledge after the failure is being done. This was the beginning of the story always. So I would say that without people, there is no proper use of the technology, and without possibility to make the mistake, but again, intelligent mistake from which the company learns, there is no possibility to grow. I fully agree what has been said in regards to the change management. I would say even that we are more than change managers. We are the change agents, and this is what is expected. However, the digitalization program, at least I perceive as something that is transversal. So I would say that getting people on board is the biggest challenge, and people don't like challenge. Don't like change too much, as we know.
They don't like leaving their comfort zones.
Absolutely.
Bartosz, would you like to add something?
Okay, I would first of all agree with both Michał and Bernard, because this change management and the, let's say, difficulty of working with people who are in, how you said, in comfort zone, this is crucial to take people with you to start journey together, not as some additional part, sometimes hostile. I would say, I would also, being a challenger, I would also challenge the slide that is shown on at the moment on the screen, because I would say that the business model is at the bottom. And technology is just the result, that because the business should be first, should the business model and strategy, how we want to change, what we want to achieve, what is our aim, what is our next business model should be the basic. And then we build on this operating model, go-to-market strategy, operations, and to this we choose technology. Because to be honest, when we were starting with our change from very traditional brick and mortar B2B distribution towards omni-channel distribution. I saw that we can achieve the same, let's say, the same user experience for our customers using different technologies. This is not some rocket science, to be honest. This is just the something that is most visible for the customer.
Yeah.
So it's crucial to have it right, to have it perfect, and to have this wow effect. But on the other hand, if we don't have this those things that are at the bottom well done, it's just a fancy picture, fancy site, and this is not something that gives us revenue back. And to show what is the scope of the challenges, we have so many processes in this, from legal through HR, through logistics, marketing, and so on and so forth. But there are very simple things that seems to be simple, like products management, that are quite obvious in almost every company. But I will give you our example. When we were starting with transformation, we had more or less 4,000 product SKUs in our ERP system. They were not described almost at all, sometimes with very, very basic data. Now, and the majority of, or let's say, fair share of sales was done with so-called universal indexes. So using the same index, you could sell as well screw or brick or air conditioning tool. So the system was just very easy to operate for sales rep. But going online, you cannot use such a taxonomy. You need to transform the way you work with products, and now we have like more than 50,000 products online. So you can see how the big journey there's need to be done, and then what is the scope of changes for all the people involved in those processes, because you need to do it totally different as was done before. And was what I think Bernard said, people are not very happy with changes in their own ground, so they feel this comfort zone, especially when they were working for a longer time. So this is for me work with people, because technology seems to be processes and technology, digitalization, but it's, for me, 90%, maybe 80% is about people. The rest is technology.
There is this technology.
I was just going to say the tough part about the technology is you actually have to find one that can handle those different business models, right?
Exactly.
I mean, the worst thing that happened to so many businesses during, earlier in 2020, when the pandemic first hit, they found they didn't have technology that could actually drive them to a more digital first model, or in some cases broaden their digital footprint into new models like marketplaces, for example, which is a huge growing technology trend in the States.
That's true.
I just would like to, Piotr, you need to add people to this graph.
Yes,
Definitely.
Yes, definitely. People should be here. I agree, and I also I don't think there's anything contradicting in what Bartosz was saying on that slide. I mean, I understand that if you think that technology is the foundation, that wasn't actually the intention of that picture. I'm fully aligned with you that technology is just an enabler, and it doesn't solve anything. Like, it's not a magic wand. First, you have to rethink your business processes. You need to rethink your operations. You need to have proper people in place. You need to have talent injected into each part of your organization. And only then you can benefit from using a proper technology. Thanks for your comments.
Yeah, and one more thing, we talk about technology and change management, but commerce, especially e-commerce, is just a logistic business more and more. And the more scale we have, it's even more logistic business.
That's also true.
Right.
So there is this saying, some technology is the answer, but what was the question?
Yeah. I love that. Okay, guys, we are almost out of time. So I would like to save some time for the last part. We all see that there are so many aspects of a successful commerce transformation projects that I hope that thanks to the session, our viewers will now find easier ways to plan their own efforts. But the entire panel is about sharing experience and learning from each other. So I hope that there is something that we can learn from each other as nations in regards to digital economy.
Absolutely.
So who would like to answer that question? What can we learn from each other? Who'd like to go first?
Oh, I would love to ask for help on contactless payments. Here in the U.S., we are very far behind. We're still writing checks in the States for things. So definitely, I think we could use some assistance in contactless payments.
Tori, I would say you are preaching to the choir here. Absolutely. And what I wanted to say that I would say that from my playground, what Poland should learn as fast as possible, it's the way the investments are being done to boost the innovation. We are nowhere in comparison to your country when it comes to the venture capitals or private equities. And this is something for sure that you have like a Mercedes in your garage. We should learn from you. On the other hand, what US could learn from us is absolutely about the fintechs, the contactless payments, and the payment ecosystem in general, especially if you take under consideration how Payment Service Directive II is pushing our banks and and actually even shops to start using possibility to buy even without any credit cards, just via API information being sent. Mm-hmm. So if you would like to hear more in regards to the world of payments in Poland, that is, I believe, one of the most developed countries here, at least in this region, reach out, Tori. I will gladly help you.
Don't worry, you'll be hearing from me.
Thank you. On the positive feedback and on some nice people to meet online in Poland.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, from my perspective, what at least we in Poland should learn, not only can, but should learn from the US, and probably not even Poland, but more European countries, is when we talk about change, is how to actually combine the bigger companies, so corporation, however you call it, with the smaller and more agile and faster startups. When I observe that in the US, that's much more advanced, and much more startups are able to, other way, much more big corporations or big companies try to work with the startups and already learn how to work. It's a very, very difficult process. And I think in Poland, at least, we are in the very beginning of that. And therefore, this change is also a bit in a slower pace.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would add to this that for me, because I'm looking for different markets, in the States, we can of course look at unicorns that are some very important and trendsetters in regarding business models and total economy, like Amazon, like let's say Uber or Apple. But for me, especially due to my working place, I'm looking more for so-called phoenixes, so very traditional companies that were in opposition to unicorns who disrupted some parts of economies. Those phoenixes were being disrupted, but they, basing on their experience and strengths, they managed to transform their businesses into more and more digital ones. For me, brilliant experience of example of such company is Grainger. This is almost 100 years old company, and I saw that now they are claiming that about 75% of their $11 billion revenue is from digital channels. So this is something that for me is a big learning, and I'm looking for some inspiration like this on daily basis.
I think we have a question.
As we remember, eBay tried to challenge the strong position of Allegro in CEE. This is a leading marketplace actually in Central Eastern Europe, but it failed. Is Allegro strong enough now to defend itself against Amazon once it launches its business in CEE to the full extent? What will it take?
Yeah, well, that's the question we were asking, I think, for many years. I remember when I worked for MediaMarkt, which is like Best Buy. It was, I don't know, 7 years ago. And every year we were talking within our, industry that what will happen if Amazon enters, because there was a lot of rumors they will enter. And it's been 7 or 8 years they haven't entered, and the e-commerce business were growing. So now it's being said they are entering. To answer your question, I actually think that not only Allegro, but in general, Polish e-commerce is quite ready for Amazon, but still they will be a disruptor. I don't know how fast and if they become number one, but for sure,
Michał,
for many industries, they will be a disruptor.
Yeah. Michał, I fully agree with you. I believe that the actions that have been made last 2, 3, 4 years by our biggest company, that is Allegro, and the way the market has been treated. I mean, most part of the business model was about rising stakes and taking money from the shops. I believe that there is a huge opportunity for the new player that will do this in the different way. In the different way, I mean that will not do just a place where people fight for the product, but where the power will be handed over to the people with money. Because actually nowadays it's a crazy world we live in, that person who would like to buy a car, buy a VCR or VCR, audio video equipment, whatever, needs to start looking for this and waste money. It should be totally upside down. We see this coming. I can tell you only from my perspective, like VC or private equity perspective, that until now, marketplaces had really bad time when it comes to the discussion with investors, due to the fact that investors are not very keen in investing into marketing. And growth marketplaces, they require massive, especially in Poland and with this Allegro in place, they require massive investment into this. And frankly, there are not too many people who can calculate in real time ROI, LTV, and other KPIs that are critical, mission critical for the marketing spendings.
One more thing to add is that, which is not actually, it's quite obvious, but what I am afraid a bit is that if Amazon enters very strong the Polish market with strong promotions and strong prices, that which will be very good for the customers, but not very good for Polish good, well managed businesses in terms of margins and cost, and it will be very hard to compete with them. So that can a bit spoil the market.
Yeah, fortunately or not, the market verticalization is moving forward, and we see that vertical marketplaces make sense. And we have more and more of them.
Okay, thank you, Dominic. Are you ready with your question?
I know it's late in Poland, and I must admit I did have a drink, but it was a small. I'm still perfectly capable to say things. This is probably a question to Tori, but I would be interested to hear the views from the whole panel, if you still have a few minutes. While we were organizing this whole event today, and we were talking to Michael and a number of other people before, and we started with a Chicago Poland technology bridge collaboration. Now we said, no, let's move away from that, because it's an important topic, but we want to infuse a little bit more content into that. That's where we went into the digital commerce transformation. And I would like to hear your views on one topic. When you think about Silicon Valley, it's a well-branded area, right? It's new hardware, it's new software, it's innovation, it's VC funds, what they're about. If you think about Texas, if you think about, let's say Texas, that's oil. Everybody knows that. Then you think about New York. Well, that's fine. That's Wall Street. That's largely financial services and so on. Now, when I think about Chicago, I have a few things, but there is no single thing that comes up, and maybe that's me, but I've always heard that one of the unique things about Chicago is that it's actually very diversified, which maybe it's not the best branding. I'm coming to my question now. So now, because we as Unity Group, we focus on commerce transformation, and I'm a big believer. I think that's maybe not in such a big way. Sorry, maybe it's not in such a blunt way, like, you know, Elon Musk is saying it's going to take us to Mars, it's going to change the future of mobility. But digital commerce is changing the world already, and it will change the world. Now, do you think that's too bold to say that maybe we could try to maybe we could try to pitch an idea that Midwest or maybe Central Eastern Europe, I don't know, could brand themselves as the avant-garde of commerce transformation? What do you think about this?
I don't think that's a bad idea. Now, I will say I'm from Texas, so you know, I'm sitting in the middle of you know, oil country. Although I'm in Austin, which is also heavily branded as a tech incubator, one of the startup capitals in the U.S. for sure. But I think that there's absolutely an opening for driving into that digital transformation. I mean, e-commerce is here to stay. It's ever changing. There's a lot of evolution still happening. There's tons of evolution that has come about just because of what's happened today in 2020. And I think that, you know, there's absolutely an opportunity for the Midwest and Poland to operate together to create that new wave of e-commerce future.
Dominic, one thing more, because you asked the open question, what is so special about and unique about Chicago? Guys, Tori, I'm not sure if you are aware that until 1990 something, Chicago was the second Polish biggest city, over 1 million of Polish people.
Wow. I love Chicago. I love Chicago, except in the winter. I'm not a fan of cold, so I'll take the 100-degree heat I have here in Texas. But Chicago is a really, really cool town, and you know, certainly a lot is happening in Chicago these days. There's a ton of tech and e-commerce already happening there, so it's definitely a great place in the States to get on board the e-commerce train.
If I also try to answer your question, because I think it's a very, very interesting question, and I've never heard it, you know, posted like that. Because on one hand, in Poland at least, we feel that we are not in the forefront of digitalization and e-commerce transformation. Because if you look at the retail, you know, e-commerce ratio to brick and mortar, we are behind the UK or other European markets and US. But if we look at the innovation, and there's a few examples on that, I think we jumped a few steps on this transformation, and we, in a way, innovate the retail. For example, the parcel lockers mentioned here, or contactless payment, or some formats of brick and mortar stores. Some you know, very good examples of brands, most of them even Polish brands. They innovate the formats which are more omni-channel. So from this perspective, I think, you know, it's a good country to test new formats, and there's a number of retail people who are able to innovate even on the hard brick and mortar retail to make it more modern. So very, very, very nice topic. And I saw it, for example, in IKEA, which actually in Poland we implemented when I was there. Quite innovative solutions on the IKEA global arena, and that was done, you know, locally in Poland.
I think also for a moment of time when you were in Leroy Merlin, what you were doing for Leroy Merlin business in e-commerce in Poland was actually also leading solution and an exemplary solution for the entire group. Am I right?
Yeah. When you look at this ADIO group, which is do-it-yourself stores across Europe, Poland was one of those countries where innovating the most. Quite a number of failures as well when we were trying to do that. Yes, that's true. And it was the beginning of e-commerce, even without e-commerce in a way.
That may be insignificant, but I'm gonna tell you that I actually developed the first online bookstore in Poland in 1997, just 2 years after Amazon started their own bookstore. They still exist. I don't think there's a single line of my code there, but I'm very proud.
Which one is that?
Paragraph.
Online bookstore is still there?
Yep.
Sorry.
Księgarnia Paragraph. They are selling law books. Guys, okay, I need to regain control over time and over this panel. So thanks for the question, Dominic. I think we have overrun a little bit, and so I would like to, I'd like to start closing the session. First of all, I'd like to say thanks to all my guests. You've been so kind to join the discussion. I enjoyed the discussion very much. We're going to have a recording that will be posted online. You will have a chance to see it and distribute. Thanks for taking part in this event, to all the participants as well, our viewers. Thanks to all the organizers for giving me the privilege of chairing the session. This was my first time in English, and I was a little bit stressed, I must tell. But I'm super happy that I'm going to open my drink soon. It's already 9 o'clock in the evening in Poland, and I'm sure you guys also are hoping for that. So thank you for very much again for watching. Have a great rest of the evening and the rest of the day in the US. It was a great event. Thank you, and see you soon.
Piotr, before you close, I'm sorry to say that I think we should probably give let's say at least a couple of minutes to the organizer, to Michael Edgar, president of SelectChicago, just to close the day. But before we do that, I just want to clarify one comment when I was saying maybe that was misunderstood. Tori, when I said Austin's weird, I think Austin has an extremely strong brand in Texas. It brands itself as special. And I think if I remember correctly, there was even a marketing campaign called Keep Austin Weird.
Yes,
so Austin is a very special place.
We do. We try to keep Austin weird every day.
And I've never been there, but I very much hope I'm going to one day visit in the same way as Milwaukee.
I tell people all the time, Austin is the melting pot of Texas. It's phenomenal. Please come visit. It's a great place.
Thank you. Michael, are you there? Are you ready to say a few? Great. We would love to hear a couple of closing words from you.
Now. Yeah, no, I'm here, Dominic. And so, yeah, why don't you start with the thanks and then I'll come behind you, because you've been an awesome MC for the day. So Dominic, I did want to first by saying thank you to you and your team. But Dominic, why don't you go through the accolades today, because you've been a phenomenal MC.
Oh, you're very kind. I think I'm going to sleep really well today. Thank you. I think everybody, especially in Poland, probably wants to go to bed or open a drink, if you think about Piotr. I love the day, right? I love the day. And I also, and I'm going to focus largely on the 3 panels. I think every single panel was different, and everyone was unique, and you could see. But I'm going to focus on the last one. I'm sorry to anybody who felt the other ones were great, and I think they were great, but I represent here Unity Group, and this for me is a special panel. We're going to use all the stuff that you said today, guys. So please be ready to hear from our marketing director. We're going to authorize your quotes, and there'll be some follow-ups on that. And I hope we're going to hear from you in the future, and I hope we'll have more such events. And as crazy as it might sound, I'm still going to think about this idea of branding this collaboration between Europe and Midwest, maybe. Are we going to include Austin in Midwest as a bit of an exception, since it's weird anyway, and keep drilling into this commerce transformation topic? Thank you. That's it from me today.
Great. Well, Dominic, thank you so much. And so now you all get to see me. It's been almost 6 hours since I was last on screen. And Dominic, you've been wonderful throughout the entire day, talking about how this is a marathon. We've been going past mile marker 3 12, 20 hit the wall right before we got into this panel. We got fortified with something I did not know they had in Milwaukee, which is called macaroni and cheese on pizza. So it was definitely something interesting. I don't think I'm going to make that as part of my regular session, but I definitely wanted to say thank you to our team at SelectChicago. We've been working with Dominic pretty much since early summer. Dominic's Unity Group team has been phenomenal. Marta, their new marketing person, has been doing great, giving us a lot of publicity about this event. Throughout the entire day, IT Corner has been great, City of Milwaukee. Before y'all jumped on, we had the Commons, which when we get the videos together, I definitely hope you take a look at that. That's all about engaging the young talent, because one of the things we talk about this Midwest economy and having a great place for digital transformation, it comes into the talent. And the state of Wisconsin has done a tremendous effort of producing that talent. They've run through almost 2,000 students over the last 6 years, all primed to take these type of digital transformation jobs as employees to actually help build this out. I think what Dominic had said and about the Midwest being ripe for this. This was something that they talked about a while back, where I think Jack Welch was talking about the build out of the internet is going to be in the Midwest, because there's a lot of programs like Illinois State University where there's a great quality of life and total life experience, but the cost of living is really affordable. And so did want to finish out, we couldn't have done this without Michał and Alexandra from Pike, the Polish Investment and Trade Office in Chicago, our local municipalities from our SelectChicago steering team. And I definitely wanted to say thank you to everybody participating today. But guess what? This is week 5 of 6, week 6 of 8. So next week, we have an awesome lineup coming up. I hope you come back. We have over 300 people that are registered for this. They come in and out. So when we're looking at our live audiences, we sometimes get a little disappointed, but the YouTube views over time is really what builds this. This whole portal that everybody has access to really creates an academy of learning about all the different topics that we have, whether it's about having Hitachi talk about why they use Chicago as a Midwest hub, and Dominic was actually on that panel as well. We've had different sessions on startup equity and founders, and next week we're going to bring back Estonia talking about what they're doing with their e-governance programs. We have a pitch from a United Arab Emirates company that makes baby monitors that's looking to create a manufacturing hub in the Chicago area. We have the department called DFC, which is the international lending arm for the United States government that's able to invest in economically challenged countries, but also in companies that are doing strategic onshoring. So we're going to hear from Allison next week. We're going to actually have a representative from the state of Indiana talking about their Indiana to India program. And then we're also going to have a representative from the state of Illinois talking about what's happening in the Middle East and how we can move on or back before that. So again, I want to say thank you to everybody who was with us today. We look forward to seeing everybody next week. Reach out to us, ping us online, and without that, we're going to say goodbye.